Welcome back to Moments of Love. Today's tale. V is for voluntary. Every Tuesday morning at 7:45, without fail, Walter rolled his wheelchair down the long hallway of Crestview Retirement Center and parked himself outside, room 103. He wasn't a nurse, he wasn't family, and he wasn't being paid. He just showed up. Inside that room lay Mr. Harris, 87 years old, a former piano teacher, a widower, and for the past 3 years, silent. A stroke had taken his voice, and dementia had taken his memory. Most days, he stared at the ceiling. Some days, he slept through breakfast. But every Tuesday morning at 7:45, he was there. And so was Walter. The nurses had asked Walter once why he kept coming. He just smiled and said, "Because I remember." You see, Walter wasn't always in a wheelchair. Once upon a time, he was a high school janitor, working nights to pay the bills. A quiet man, a loner. And Mr. Harris, he'd been the school's music teacher. Years ago, Walter would eat lunch alone in the auditorium. One day, Harris saw him there and struck up a conversation. By week's end, Harris had taught him how to play a C chord. By month's end, Walter knew full songs. They played together every Thursday after school. Harris on piano, Walter on guitar. The two unlikely friends made music for no one in particular, just for each other. When Walter's mother passed away, it was Harris who showed up at the funeral. When Walter struggled with depression a year later, it was Harris who drove him to his appointments. They drifted apart, as people do. Life went on. Until one day, Walter saw an article about Crestview and a resident named Mr. Harris, who had once been a brilliant pianist, now mute and fading. Walter called that day, and the next Tuesday, he showed up, voluntarily. Not because someone asked, but because that's what real love looks like. Love between friends that never asks for anything in return. Week after week, Walter sat beside the bed, playing the guitar, gently, as Harris stared at the ceiling. Sometimes he'd talk. Sometimes he'd play an old tune they both used to know. Then one Tuesday, something happened. Walter was halfway through a song when Harris blinked and turned his head. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. But he tapped one finger, softly, rhythmically, against the blanket. Perfect time. That was all Walter needed. And so he came the next week, and the one after. Because love isn't always grand gestures. Sometimes love is just showing up, again and again. Not because you're asked, but because you remember, because you choose to, because it's voluntary. Thanks for listening. I'm KG Heartstopper, and we will see you next time. Always remember you matter. You mean something. Go be kind.